Watch this.
Is Amon Bundy hiding his assets? Well, according to a judge overseeing another St. Luke's lawsuit against him, it appears likely, and he ordered the anti-government activist to stop selling his stuff. Swinging Sticks for Scholarships, a tournament to raise legal tender for teenagers who want to learn a trade, on par to pay for a future apprentice, and other golf fundraising puns. It's been 22 years since the tragic events of 9/11. We're taking a look back at what we were doing that day and how people around southern Idaho are honoring those we lost today. A high likelihood of plaintiffs' success on the merits of their claims. Quote, end quote. That's what Gem County Judge Brent Whiting wrote as he issued a preliminary injunction against anti-government activist Amon Bundy, keeping him from selling his property. Judge Whiting deciding late last week St. Luke's, the plaintiff in this case, has made a pretty good case against Bundy that there was a fraudulent conveyance, a shady transfer of property to hide from creditors. They made enough of a case to stop the sale of his Emmett home for the immediate future. St. Luke's has sued the former candidate for governor for trying to hide his assets after they were awarded more than $52 million in a civil defamation lawsuit, all stemming from a Baby Cyrus protest outside the hospital back in March of 2022 and the subsequent harassment. This injunction against Bundy is a continuation of the temporary restraining order issued last month, and it applies to Bundy, his wife, his friend and former campaign manager he tried to sell his home to, or any of the companies they operate. And that includes White Barn Enterprises, the company owned and operated by Aaron Welling, and where Bundy tried to apparently transfer the $1 million Emmett property back in December of 2022 for $250,000, although court records show no money was actually exchanged or has been. As for the People's Rights Network, in his decision, Judge Whiting came to the conclusion that Bundy conclusively does in fact exercise control and influence over the anti-government agency he created. This is in response to Bundy claiming PRN and its assets shouldn't be involved in this lawsuit. So what else does Bundy claim? Well, I asked him about this injunction today, and once again, he claimed to be a lowly David going up against a Goliath with little more than a single stone. St. Luke's wants to take everything I own for criticizing them, he says. They have an enormous annual budget, and they're seeking to financially ruin me, to teach a lesson, he says. The problem is St. Luke's employees are the ones who participated in taking a baby from his loving parents. Their lucky people responded peacefully. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but St. Luke's had something to say about that with regard to, quote, taking a baby. He said Mr. Bundy continues to spread disinformation, repeating statements that the court, based on sworn evidence, ruled to be false and defamatory. Mr. Stidham pointed to the sworn testimony of 3 doctors and hundreds of pages of evidence with which they convinced a jury Bundy defamed the hospital. And as we mentioned, back in July, St. Luke's was awarded more than $52 million in that defamation lawsuit. It was a default judgment because Bundy did not participate at all. The health system then filed a second lawsuit after it believed Bundy was hiding his assets to avoid paying the penalties. Well, that lawsuit was filed on August 11th, the same day Bundy was arrested on a contempt of court charge for continuing to harass St. Luke's and its employees. He has a court date set for November for that charge, yet no date has been set for this second lawsuit. You know, college may not be for everyone. And for some, a trade school might be the ticket to a career. It's not exactly a new concept. What is new, though, is a way to help raise money to help some teenagers pay for that trade school. To do that, well, why not rely on a tried and true fundraiser like a golf tournament? Joe Paris stopped by the River Club for the inaugural Teens to Trades Scramble.
Brian, proceeds raised from donations and bids on prizes will fund the Teens to Trades program. It's a new program which helps underserved and under-resourced youth who are not college-bound and instead find an opportunity for them to explore and obtain a career in the trades. Tournament Ambassador Mark Johnson, remember him? He explains how funds raised during the beautiful golf tournament today will soon make a difference in our community.
Teens to Trades is a new program designed to give young people scholarships to a career in the trades who either can't afford or don't want to go to a 4-year college. This program gives money to these kids to find that career in the trades. The next thing you know, we've got the future of the valley in electricians and plumbers and carpenters and welders and sheetrockers and you name it, construction workers.
One way the tournament raised money today, a celebrity auction to start the day. So winning bidders there, they earned an extra golf partner, a celebrity from the Treasure Valley, and there was a lot of Idaho celebs at the tournament, many from the sports world. But the marquee name in attendance today, Major Joseph Bogart, and here he is on the course today. Major Bogart served for 28 years, 23 as active duty in the United States Army. In 2006, while serving in Iraq, Bogart and his team were hit with an IED explosion. Bogart lost an eye and his vision. Still, though, he persevered and chose to return to service in 2008, returning to Iraq. Major Bogart tells us on this September 11th, his service to this country is rooted in a passionate belief.
We learned a lot about heroes and about the American spirit and the brotherhood and sisterhood we have in this great country as people came together as one. The men and women I served with, I didn't want them to see this as something that beat me. I wanted to show that you can overcome something like this, that no matter how tragic something in your life has been, it's not the end of the world. There's more to life, and I'm not going to let one thing define me.
It's a lot in perspective on this September 11th, and we're going to touch more on all of that coming up later on the 208. Brian?
All right, thank you very much, Joe. You know, it may be Joe Albertson's supermarket, but we're about to lose a bunch of them in order to make a mega merger possible. Plus, what's the plan for the off-campus house where 4 University of Idaho students were murdered? And fresh off its convincing road win in Nevada, could the Vandal football team actually be a top 5 team? Here's Brady Frederick with the 411 from around the 208.
Grocery giants Kroger and Boise-based Albertsons are working to put the finishing touches on their merger. They will sell more than 400 stores to C&S Wholesale Grocers. 13 of them are right here in Idaho. This sale is valued at nearly $1.9 billion and would help clear the path for Albertsons and Kroger to become one of the largest chains in the country. C&S is a supplier to independent grocery stores throughout the country and runs a number of stores in the Midwest and Carolinas. The University of Idaho is again delaying the demolition of the off-campus house where 4 students were killed. The school initially planned to tear it down before the fall term, but families of the victims objected, saying it could be used as evidence during suspect Brian Kohberger's trial. The new plan was to tear it down next month, but now it's on hold until at least December. Kohberger's trial has also been delayed. It was supposed to happen in October. And for the first time since 1998, the University of Idaho football team is 2-0. After their solid 33-6 victory over the Nevada Wolfpack on Saturday, the Vandals are now ranked number 5 in the NCAA FCS Top 25 poll. Important to note, the University of Nevada is an FBS team, and the Vandals haven't beaten an FBS team since they dropped down to the FCS back in 2017. Idaho plays the University of California this Saturday at 2 o'clock. Cal is also an FBS team, so another win this weekend would be huge.
Today marks 22 years since the tragic events of 9/11. On September 11, 2001, 19 terrorists from the al-Qaeda terrorist group hijacked 4 commercial airplanes. It'd be United Flight 175 and American Airlines Flight 11. Both of those took off from Boston that morning with nearly 150 people on board. Those 2 planes were crashed into the World Trade Center, Twin Towers, the first happening at 8:46 a.m. American Airlines Flight 77, flying out of Washington, D.C. with 53 passengers and 6 crew members, they crashed into the Pentagon at 9:37, killing 184 people. United Flight 93 left Newark, New Jersey, headed for California with just 40 passengers and a crew on board. Those passengers overtook the hijackers, and that plane crashed in an empty field in Pennsylvania. In total, the attacks killed 2,977 people. More than 2,700 of them died in the Twin Towers collapse. It's been said the world stood still that day, watching it all happen and watching how we would react to it. And if you remember that day, all eyes were on New York, D.C., and Pennsylvania, and even local news took a pause. But that didn't mean Idaho was not affected and impacted by what happened 2,400 miles away. In today's 208 Redial, I look back at what was happening here on September 11th, 2001. From the moment that first plane, American Airlines Flight 11, crashed into Tower 1, the shockwaves were felt as far away as Idaho. Within hours, everyone was on high alert.
At about 10 o'clock this morning, the Mountain Home Air Force Base went on an increased state of alert called Threat Con Delta, one of the most restrictive states of alert here on the base.
It was fairly instantaneous with today's media and the way it works. We knew pretty much right from the beginning.
Word of the attack spread quickly at Mountain Home Air Force Base. 5,000 people are stationed here. Just getting into the base was a challenge. Cars lined up for close to a mile. Armed base personnel went from car to car checking identification. Vehicles were searched. Search dogs were brought in. Entrance was restricted to only the people who had to be there.
And those who had to be somewhere else, well, they had to get there another way.
There will be flights going out.
But there will be no flights going out today, nationwide as of right now.
My daughter's getting married Saturday, so I got to get home. If I didn't have all this, I'd hitchhike.
Okay, this is Todd with Global Travel in Boise. I need to cancel a reservation for tonight.
At Global Travel, cancel was the word of the day.
No problem, I'll call them right now and get it canceled.
Hotel reservations and future flights.
Yeah, everybody is canceling.
A lot of people wanting to drive from wherever they are to Boise.
And vice versa. With planes grounded here and nothing doing here, passengers came here, all headed for the same destination.
They just want to go home.
The only problem? So what do you have left to rent?
Absolutely nothing.
Mitch DeMitch is one of the lucky ones. He found a rental car to take him home to Billings, Montana.
How long's that trip gonna take you?
About 11 hours.
By the next day, the Boise airport was anything but the travel hub it was built to be. All but abandoned.
Anybody wanting to go to the Bay Area or Reno? There is a gentleman at the Southwest Airlines ticket counter if you'd like to meet up with him.
Planes would be grounded. No one in or out by air for 2 days. Meanwhile, the first reaction from our first responders?
I've been on this shift for a year.
About what you might expect.
Caldwell Fire's third shift, the C shift, started Tuesday morning.
Heard about the plane into the World Trade Tower building.
I'll never forget where I was the whole day.
And we just kind of huddled around the TV and watched with, like I said, just disbelief. It was a shock.
And then when I saw the first building collapse, it was just startling because you knew, that those firefighters were in there and they had to have been, hundreds of deaths.
To me, that brought tears to my eyes at that point, and knowing that there were literally hundreds of emergency workers that were committed to doing their job there.
It's terrible. And I feel for all their families, all their loved ones. It's something that I think affects us all.
We owe them a great debt of gratitude. They've given the ultimate sacrifice that we all know that we could have to give and just hope that we don't have to.
The men hung a flag on their engine for solidarity. They wear bands on their badges for grief.
I mean, it's not just our brothers and sisters that died, it's everybody. I mean, I don't know what memorial they'll have for everybody, but I don't know any memorial that could even come close to be fitting.
Hours after I was here, I called my wife at work and just kind of assured her, I said, if there's ever anything like that in this area or something that, majorly, destroys big parts of cities, I said, you know where I'd be.
Sentiment shared by a lot of our first responders, and they still have a memorial. A lot of them do. The fire departments across the Treasure Valley still have a 9/11 memorial on those trucks. On the 91st floor of Tower 2, the South Tower, there were 130 employees of Washington Group International, which was then a Boise-based engineering firm. The South Tower was the second tower hit on 9/11, Flight 175 crashing into it about 6 floors below where Washington's Group offices were. That happened at 9:03 a.m. We weren't aware of it at the time, but of those 130 people in that office, 13 of them did not make it out alive. Well, since that day, across the country, memorials have been built and events have been held in honor of the lives of those we have lost. And several of those happen right here in the Treasure Valley. Idaho's Secretary of State Phil McGrain spent a couple hours helping AmeriCorps alumni with service projects in honor of 9/11. And just a few minutes ago, at 5 o'clock, the 9/11 Miles of Remembrance run kicked off at Ann Morrison Park in Boise. And at 8 a.m. sharp this morning, the city of Nampa held its annual Patriots Day ceremony. It happened at Fire Station 1. Photojournalist Jason Foster was there.
We're here today to remember the ultimate sacrifice that was given by the first responders on 9/11. It feels very good as a first responder to see people show up to continue to honor the men and women that were lost that day. We always have a large showing. It seems to be getting bigger every year. I think people are looking for connection. They're looking for something that's bigger than themselves. And they want to remember the brave men and women that lost their lives that day.
When a firefighter falls in line of duty, the last alarm is rung in his honor to signify the end of the firefighter's duties.
I firmly stand on the shoulders of the men and women that came before us, and so to honor them in a ceremony like this is vitally important. I know both in the military as well as in the fire service and first responders in general, a lot of people were moved to serve their communities after that day. The only way to move forward is to look back and make sure we remember where we've come from.
There's one 9/11 memorial in Twin Falls, which is almost impossible to miss, likely because it's almost as prominent as the Perrine Bridge, with which it shares a span across the Snake River. It's the largest flying American flag, and for those who stopped by to see it last year, well, the sight of it was both awe-inspiring and emotional.
No other place like it.
It's one of the most scenic and most picturesque parts of Idaho.
Yeah, you got the river.
And the canyon it carved.
The bridge.
And those that jump off it.
The bottom of that arch.
There's even a rock to remember those that tried to jump over it. But this week, there's one more thing to see over the Snake River in Twin Falls.
Old Glory.
In all its glory.
I wasn't expecting it to be this big.
Stands for freedom, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
It's like it's hanging there by itself.
Except it's not. It was put there by the group Follow the Flag, who took 3 days to anchor it, hang it, and finally unfurl the largest American flag to ever fly.
Hey, how big do you think that flag really is?
6 foot stripes. It's 154 feet long, 78 feet wide. It's over 12,000 square feet.
It's a quarter of an acre.
I mean, that's bigger than most mansions.
Yes. I can't imagine the weight of it.
On the scale, it's 400 pounds, but its real weight is relative, considering
why is the flag out there?
Why it's here.
For 9/11.
Which is why the reaction to those who walk out here and see it for the first time.
I got the goosebumps. It really touches me.
Kyle Fox with followtheflag.org says hanging the giant flag began as a 4th of July stunt back in Pleasant Grove, Utah in 2015. And they've done it again this year in Twin Falls in a ceremony happening, well, right now Teams from Follow the Flag and Magic Valley 9/11 Memorial are unveiling that giant flag across the canyon once again. There's going to be an event happening there until 8 tonight. You can find the flag just west of the Prime Bridge from now until Saturday morning. You might remember back in June when we introduced you to Elaine Hunt McCall, and it was right about the time she turned 105 years old. That's not her only claim to fame, though. Back in 1999, she was inducted into Idaho's Aviation Hall of Fame for being one of the first women in the state to get a pilot's license. That was in 1938. But then 2 years later, she made another maiden voyage, if you will, becoming the first woman ever in Idaho to get a commercial pilot's license. Well, when World War II started, Elaine joined the Civil Air Patrol to serve her country. But when the war ended, unfortunately, so did her days as a pilot. When we spent some time with Elaine over the summer, she told us all these years later, those memories, they still feel like yesterday.
Well, I've had, the desire to do it over all these years. I still dream about it.
And dreams do come true, because just because she hasn't piloted a plane by herself in more than 70 years, doesn't mean Elaine hasn't flown. It's been a tradition for years for friends of hers to make sure Elaine celebrates her birthday by, well, going airborne, even at the age of 105. And yes, it may have taken a few months since she turned 105, but she finally got her birthday flight for this year. Her pilot friend Skip sent us these pictures last week. He says they waited for a nice cool day that was perfectly smooth. The air is perfectly smooth when it comes to the cool day, so that's why they waited. Skip told us getting her in and out of the plane, that was a bit of a concern, but not getting off the ground. As you can see, Elaine loved every minute of it. All right, a couple of comments today about, well, 9/11, seeing as it is 9/11, and the memorials that are kind of around town, but one in particular, the one in Boise. Boise has a piece of steel from one of the towers downtown at the firefighter memorial, says Gwen. That is true. You see it, you walk by it on the Greenbelt, you can see it. In fact, I should say the 5K that we mentioned running down by Ann Morrison, that's where that park is running right by that memorial, which is on purpose so people can stop if they want to take a break and take a look at it. This one from John in Boise. Good stories about the 9/11 first responders, certainly appropriate. As a retired airline pilot on duty that day, I find it disappointing no memorial event has mentioned the flight crew members who were the first ones to die that horrible day. The passengers who took over Flight 93 and sacrificed themselves, well, they deserve mention also. And I believe we did mention that. They crashed that plane in Pennsylvania. They did make a movie about that as well. So not to belittle that or to make light of that, but they did do that. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow.